Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Women's Sports Foundation webcam to discuss our Tara VanDerveer Fund for the advancement of women in coaching. My name is Danette Leighton, and I am the CEO of the Women's Sports Foundation. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you to share some insights about this amazing fund that we have. Thank everybody that has been a part of this program since its inception, and for all of you to learn more and hear the stories of some of our fellows that have experienced this program now that is finishing up its 5th anniversary. So to share a few things about this program for those of you that are unfamiliar about the Women's Sports Foundation, we were founded 50 years ago. We actually celebrated our 50th anniversary on May 2nd by Billie Jean King after 2 years after the passing of Title IX, knowing the importance of having an advocacy, research, and community programming organization that would protect Title IX, but care about proving the model of the importance for girls and women to play sports, both from a societal perspective, but also an economic perspective. And we're thrilled to see the progress that has been made and the momentum that's behind women's sports, but we know our work is not done yet. And specifically, we recognize one of those biggest challenges that we started to see in our research after the passing of Title IX was the actual decline of women coaching women in sports, particularly at the collegiate level, but at all levels. We'll see this also even in parity in Paris. So we'll see a very small number of women coaching women in the Paris Olympics. And so we recognize this is a continued area of growth, and the Tara VanDerveer Fund has been one of those programs that we've been able to try to make an impact by making sure that women have an opportunity to begin their careers at the collegiate level and an entry-level position that incorporates both a Tara VanDerveer Fellow coaching or working within a women's sports program at the university level, having a mentor, being a part of a cohort, and getting other professional experiences in which the Women's Sports Foundation and this fund has so graciously been able to do. I really want to thank, there's a number of trustees and donors and emeriti that are on this call right now that have been supporters of this fund since day one, recognize the importance of this fellowship, and obviously who it's named after, who is just recently retired and the winningest coach in college basketball. Tara VanDerveer also leads and joins our cohort throughout the year to provide her insight and obviously not just her coaching skills that she's had for so many decades on the court, but her life coaching skills for our fellows. We are so thrilled to know that after doing this for 38 different colleges have received this fellowship on our behalf. In addition, over 81% of our WSF VanDerveer Fellows are still coaching. We think that is a great stat as we embarked on this 5 years ago. A few notes for housekeeping for this program tonight. We will open the panel session for questions at a quarter till, so please use the button with the question mark icon at the top right of your screen to ask your questions. And with that, I would like to introduce our moderator tonight. Her name is Morgan Powell. She's our Associate Director of Advocacy. And in her role, Morgan works collaboratively on grassroots and national initiatives that educate the public and advocate for policies and practices that advance gender equity in sports. Morgan oversees our coaching, LGBTQ+, high school sports, international mental health, and safeguarding and athlete abuse, as well as youth parks and recs portfolios. Yes, can you believe that that's just a little bit about what the Women's Sports Foundation does? And those are all the areas that Morgan oversees. And as part of her coaching portfolio, she runs the Tara VanDerveer Fund and works very closely and directly with each of our fellows. And we're thrilled to have you moderate. So Morgan, thank you, and I will hand it to you.
Thank you, Danette, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm really excited for you all to meet a couple of our incredible fellows. So we'll get started. We have Keela Austin up first. She's in her 3rd year as an assistant track and field coach at Fordham University, and her 2nd year as a WSF VanDerveer Fellow, working with the sprinters and jumpers. As an athlete, she finished her track and field career at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where she was a team captain, an 8-time All-Atlantic Region honoree, and posted an NCAA provisional mark in the triple jump, which I don't know if anyone's watched the triple jump, but the craziest event in track and field. She was ranked 23rd in the country. She's also a member of the U.S. National Guard, which is where she's at right now, calling for in with us. And she earned her undergraduate degree in psychology from IUP in 2020. She is currently pursuing a master's in clinical mental health counseling from Capella University. Hi, Keilee. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Morgan. Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Next up, we have Keilee Bessho, who has completed her second season as an assistant coach and first year as a WSF VanDerveer Fellow with Claremont-Mudd-Scripps women's golf program. And not only is she just in her second year, but in her first year, she earned National Assistant Coach of the Year award, which is incredible. She joined the Athenas after a successful stint at Redlands University, where she was both a second team All-American player and an assistant coach, helping the team achieve a #2 national ranking. Keilee finished 13th at the NCAA Division III Championship in her senior year. She earned a master's degree in philosophy from Long Beach State and is currently pursuing a PhD in philosophy from UC Riverside. So we got a ton of brain power over here. Hey, Keilee. And last but certainly not least, Miss Erin Hughes, who has completed her third season as a women's assistant basketball coach and first year as a WSF VanDerveer Fellow at her alma mater, Washington and Lee University. Erin was named the Women's Basketball Coach Association's 30 under 30 list this year, and on that list, and she helped her team to an NCAA Tournament Elite 8 appearance. Erin, was that the first time this year? Awesome. She joined the Washington and Lee staff following a standout 4-year playing career that included the Old Dominion Athletic Conference's first ever Defensive Player of the Year award. She was a 2-year team captain, a 3-time all-conference selection, a 1,000-point scorer, and ranked in the top 10 in both career steals and blocks. Erin graduated with a bachelor's degree in cognitive and behavioral sciences and is currently pursuing a master's in sports leadership at Virginia Commonwealth University. Hi, Erin.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, so thank you all for joining and for being a part of this conversation. Just want to echo what Danette said at the top, that while we have questions, and we're going to talk through everything right now, if you all, as our audience members, have questions, please feel free to put those into the question mark Q&A thing, and we will get to those towards the end. So we're going to start off super easy, very conversational. First question, why did you all get into coaching? What or who inspired you to pursue this career? Keilee, I'm going to call on you first.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I was introduced to coaching by my dad. He was the first advocate for me to get into sports. When I was 5 years old, he took me to a John Wooden book signing of the Inch and Miles children's book, and that has been my Bible going throughout my sports career and through coaching. I think when I first got to college, I had a really tough time adjusting to the freedom and adjusting to all the responsibility that came with that. And so when I kind of finished up my career, I thought it would be very exciting and meaningful to help student athletes kind of make that transition, which inspired me to continue down this path of coaching. So it has been an incredible run, and I'm so grateful for all of the athletes that I've been able to have touch with, and it has just been an amazing experience.
That's incredible. Talk about like beginning, just the very, very beginning of your life. Like, all right, cool, I'm going to be a coach. All right, Keilee, you're up next.
That's awesome. So for me, it started during my senior year in college. I was getting ready to graduate and talking with my coaches who had just an amazing impact on my life, like dating back to my high school coaches. So it was just, trying to figure out what to do after and realizing that this is coming to an end and I'm not really ready for it to come to an end. I just love the sport so much and what it has provided for me over the years. So talking to my coach, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about, me going into coaching? And he was just like, I think it's a great idea. And at that point, we started putting me into a lot of coaching positions and things like that on the team. And I just fell in love with it. So I just wanted to
share all that I've learned over the past few years that I've been in track and field, and the personal growth that I've achieved through it, and just try to help athletes get as much out of a sport that they all love. And yeah, just sharing this experience is a great character builder, and it just provides so many different opportunities. For instance, this call that we're on. So this is amazing.
Awesome. All right, Erin, why'd you get into coaching? Who got you in? What got you in?
For me, honestly, like my grandfather was a longtime high school basketball coach. Both my grandparents were teachers. My dad was my AAU coach from 5th grade all the way to senior year. And obviously that would be enough reason, but I like to figure things out the hard way. So I went through all of high school, college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what was next. I was very fortunate that all of my mentors and my leaders, every coach, athletic trainer, AD that I interacted with was a woman. And I think I kind of thought that was normal and typical. And I think I definitely look back on that experience and think of, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into representation throughout this call, but for me, I think seeing really strong women in those roles kind of showed me that it was always a possibility. But then truly what made me take that leap into coaching was my senior year was a prolonged 2020, 2021. Is COVID still a part of this? Is it not? Getting the call that our season would look very different. I probably wouldn't even have a senior season. Fortunately, we were able to play 8 games, and that was an incredible experience. I'm so grateful that we were able to make that happen. But at the end of my season, I think most seniors would tell you that they don't have closure, but I really felt like I didn't have closure. Like I just felt like there were still things, like we still hadn't won an ODAC tournament, we still hadn't made it to the NCAA tournament. Like there were things that I was very passionate about accomplishing within the sport, within Washington and Lee, within, you know, this program and this team that I've been a part of, watching this evolution. And I think at that time, I remember that year specifically, my focus shifting to more of, okay, what legacy can I leave? Like, how can I help prep these younger athletes that I see so much potential in, so that this program can go where we weren't able to go prior to COVID. So like, for me, that is where I think I really started to learn how to be a coach, even like in practice and in team meetings. And then I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And right around graduation, our assistant coach at the time moved on to a different position, and it opened, and I kind of was like, well, you know, I think this is my opportunity and my chance, and it was in my blood, it was in my genes, and then the right opportunity presented itself at the right place. And once I started coaching, I fell in love with it, and I think it fits me so well. I'm really excited that roundabout way it came back to me, and I found what I was supposed to do.
That's awesome. I love all the impact that other people have had on you guys in terms of, you know, getting into coaching, but also seeing this as a viable career path and something that you can do moving forward out of your, you know, playing careers. So all of you are wrapping up your year or 2 years, Keilee, as WSF VanDerveer Fellows. So would love for you all to share, you know, what receiving the grant has done for you, what impact has it had on you thus far. Keilee, you are our 2-year vet, so we're gonna call on you first.
No problem. First of all, I'm so grateful for this grant. It's been an amazing experience for me, and receiving it a second year just was exceptional. Being a part of this grant, I have had so many different opportunities to connect and, you know, share spaces with other female coaches who are, you know, dealing with a lot of the same challenges that I am. And it's great to be able to share in conversation with younger coaches and seasoned coaches. Overall, it's just been really great. The fund has helped a lot with attending professional development. I was able to go to the USA CCCA Coaches Convention in Denver both years, and it was just a great experience getting to connect with other track and field coaches, because once we're at the meet, we are all over the place. So it's great to be in an environment where we're able to just share in what it is that we're seeing about the sport, and to be able to learn about it. Because like I said, I came straight out of college, so it was coming in with the knowledge that I've gained over the years. So to be able to attend these different events and to take those different courses that are available, it's just been really great. My team has benefited from it. I've benefit from it myself. And I'm just super grateful for this experience and all the individuals I've gotten a chance to meet and the different events we've been able to attend and just share in our experiences. And I think that's a big part, especially when the space is limited, to be able to have a group of females who are in the positions I'm in, who've been in the position I've been in, and to bounce ideas off of them and share my experience as well to help aid them. It's just been incredible. So again, super happy to be a part of this foundation.
Erin, why don't you go next?
I'm gonna echo a lot of things that you just heard. She crushed it. Honestly, for me, I think a big part of my journey and kind of one of the main factors I sought this opportunity out was I graduated from WNL, and I was so fortunate to stay and work within the same program with a lot of the same people under the same amazing head coach. And I think this is an opportunity for me to kind of continue to expand my network and learn beyond that, and put me in those positions to be uncomfortable, to learn meet new people and create that network. So I was really intentional. The head women's soccer coach here was my coach mentor throughout the year, which was awesome because I was able to be a part of all of their preseason stuff, and she was super gracious with her time mentoring me throughout the year. And so I got to see a completely different sport and perspective and coaching style, which I think definitely aided me. It also has allowed me to start, Morgan mentioned the master's program through VCU, which has also been an incredible bonus to what I've been learning here at WNL. So being able to fund that. And then like Keilee mentioned, there's tons of coaching opportunities where you can go to these big events and conferences and you can meet a bunch of coaches and you can do programming and continue to expand that network. And I think the ability for this fund to help minimize that barrier and encourage it even more, I think has been tremendous at opening doors, both externally, but also internally. Like there's a lot of stuff that we do as fellows with other people's coach mentors, the speakers that Morgan brings in. So I think those doors and those networks are being opened within our own little cohort, which I think is really cool and a safer space to do that. But then also externally with the people that we're able to interact with beyond just our campus or just our cohort, but throughout the whole industry.
Excellent. All right, Keilee, what do you got?
Okay, so Keilee and Erin have said so many amazing things. I don't know what more I can add, but I think I can't explain how much this this fellowship has meant to me. I came from a basketball background and transitioned to golf in high school, and I think being in the same community and space as Tara VanDerveer, having conversations with Muffet McGraw, I mean, listening to the coach's coach, Linda Martindale, being able to network with a lot of these other coaches. I had an amazing conversation with Erin's coaching mentor, Tiffany Pins at Washington and Lee, and just everything that I've been exposed to in this past year has changed how I view coaching, and especially how I view myself. I think I've grown so much in being able to have kind of these sorts of conversations with so many amazing players in the women's sports space. I mean, I got to meet this amazing woman, Julie Andreef Jensen, at the Salute to Women's Sports, and she was just so incredible. And she talked about how she was in a very similar space that I was, going to law school and also being a coach, and how her career kind of just took off after that, and how important it was to be a woman in coaching and how that has impacted the rest of her career. And so really meeting all of these amazing women and having this community, it's just been so amazing, and I'm so grateful. And I'm just really speechless at how much I've grown over the course of this past year. So I think that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Well, I will say
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Erin.
No, I was just gonna say, like, as a basketball person too, it is crazy that, like, I know it was like, oh, my coach, Zoom with Coach VanDerveer, and I'm like at dinner with Muffet McGraw. Like, it is definitely a level of like,
Yeah.
the whole, like, it is so inspiring and empowering because they really just want to like pour into who you are, and they're so passionate about women being in these spaces and just helping you be the best coach that you can be, that it's like, oh my gosh, you've been one of my biggest mentors ever, and now you're on a Zoom box, like asking about my life. It's so cool to have that access, but not in a way where it's just like, I know everything, so let me tell you. It's like, no, I'm in this journey with you, and I'm gonna help you get there. And I think that is so empowering. And like Keilee said, like, I am so grateful for that. And those are opportunities that I never would have had without this grant existing.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, you get out what you give in, and you all are very clearly so passionate, not only about coaching, but just about being a part of the fund. And, there's only 3 of you here, but there's 7 other fellows in the little group that you guys have made, and being able to come to New York and meet in person and have those connections. You got to have our Professor McGraw session while we were in New York, which was really cool. So outside of Muffet and outside of Tara, what have you all gained in terms of like the impact from the programming that we've done through the grant? So we have the time where it's just the fellows, we have the mentor calls, we have the book. I know Keila's going to talk about the book, but then also Keila's been holding on to this book. And then obviously
there's so much in there.
So just anything that, just in terms of the programmatic side of things, what impact has that had? Is there one thing that jumps out to you, again, separate from the call with Tara and the session with Muffet? Erin, why don't we kick back to you?
Yeah, for me, honestly, the Salute in New York was an incredible opportunity, because I think I've been able to do different events around women in coaching or basketball coaches, but I hadn't been to an event yet where it was a group of people so passionate about women just being the best at whatever they were trying to conquer, right? So like at the Salute, you're seeing all these athletes and these different mentors and trailblazers being rewarded. And it's, yes, what are you doing in sport, but also like, how are you just using sport as a vehicle to be the best possible version of yourself? And that, for us, right, as fellows, like, how can you be the best possible coach and give back in that way? But also, how can you be the best possible athlete or like advocate of spaces? And so I think that part was really cool, just to be able to see that, yes, it can happen for coaches, but also as a vehicle for any women in any profession, and really allowing them to be confident and strong in who they are, and use a lot of those tools that you can build through sport, but can be applied in so many different facets. So I think just seeing the opportunity that sport can present, whether you're a coach or a professional or whatever, or an athlete, whatever that capacity is, it can truly transform lives. And I believe that full-heartedly.
Awesome. All right, Keilee, feel free to jump in.
I can jump in here really quick. So I mentioned earlier we had a session with the coach's coach, Linda Martindale, and I found our session with her to be kind of life-changing for 2 reasons. The first was that she really she taught us about the 3 most important words that a coach can say to an athlete, which is "I see you," and that not only changed my relationship with my players, but also the people in my life. I think I was much more empathetic, and I was able to recognize how much those 3 words meant to everyone that I was kind of interacting with. And so just like recognizing how important it is to validate, and how much that builds trust and builds that sort of relationship where you're able to say, okay, you know what, you're really struggling on your chipping right now, and I see that you're trying really hard, and I see that you're mentioning that you're struggling with this, but okay, how are we going to get you better to the next level, and all of those sorts of things. So that was the first most important thing. And then the second thing that Linda taught us was to have an Atta Girl file, and this is specifically for women coaches in the sense of like putting all of your little wins into a specific file that you can look back on during hard times. And as coaches, we always have things come up. Things are constantly coming up. I think Kim Mulkey had a quote in a recent press conference where she said that, dealing with putting out fires is part of our job. And so going through those times and being able to go back to that Atta Girl file really gave me the strength and kind of conviction to keep going and to keep, you know, supporting and not giving up when times got tough. And so those two kind of nuggets of wisdom that I got from Linda were incredible. And that was just one of the amazing kind of conversations that we had with this fund. But it was just so impactful to not only coaching, but again, my whole life. So I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah, Linda,
Yeah, I
definitely
agree. There's so many. No, no, you're good, Morgan. You're good.
You go, Keilee.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with Keilee. There's so many like awesome moments that happened over the year and for me over the past 2 years. And a favorite for mine is always been the athlete leadership event that we have prior to the salute. That's always amazing because, you know, as athletes, we only see a lot of, as coaches, we only get to see a lot of athletes in the event that they're doing or in the sport, right? So you really don't get to see behind the athletes a lot, unless it's outside of, unless it's in like a mainstream sport and you get to kind of see a little bit more into it. But during the athlete leadership event, you really get to hear from these professional athletes. You really get to hear from the college athletes and what their experience is like. And even the segment where we get to hear about those coaches who are bringing their sports to environments and communities that it's not popular in, and just sharing that with those communities. So it's really one of my favorites because, like I said, you get to see behind the sport. You get to see the individuals who are helping to move the sports forward. So that's one of my favorite ones. Another, like Morgan mentioned, is the book club. I love when we do book club. It's amazing book. It has so many different tidbits that you can bring to your team. And for me, our sport is about like 9 months out of the year, I would say. So we're always looking for something new to bring, something to kind of boost energy a little bit because we're competing from December till May and they're in school and things like that. So being able to pull from the book, it's just been amazing. Like a big one for us was creating a leadership kind of committee where as challenges arise on the team, our athletes have individuals that they can reach out to and they can seek mentorship from those individuals as well. And it creates a different dynamic to where it's more of a community rather than I tell you this in that kind of way. So that's been great and got that straight from the book. So it's been great. So many amazing things in it. It's the We Coach book, so I think everybody should check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's I think it's Winning Ways of Women Coaches. It's by We Coach, or it's from We Coach. And it's I think it's better second iteration. Well, I think the big thing too is like the way that you all engage in the spaces that you're going into. But like we were talking about, you have this group of 10 where you all are learning from each other. We've got track on here, we've got golf, we've got basketball, we've had water polo before, we've had 2 Nordic skiers. I didn't know a thing about Nordic skiing before we started this fund, and now thanks to our former fellows, know a lot more. Can you all speak about the impact of just like having the 10 of you, like having these people who are going through a really similar experience as assistant coaches, even though you're, you know, different parts of the country, different sports, different divisions, what that feels like in terms of, you know, having this cohort of 10 other women who are along with you. Keilee, why don't we get started with you?
Awesome. Yeah, so it was so cool to have our group chat of WSF Fellows and Morgan that was constantly, we were having these little like texts to one another, supporting one another. When my team was at the national championships a couple of weeks ago, I got a couple of texts from the fellows, and it was so cool to kind of like really feel empowered and to, you know, have this community of support. I was also fortunate enough to be helping out our department through some basketball games, working some sports information, and I got to see one of the other fellows while she was on a trip out at our school, and that was awesome to kind of like, you know, see each other, check in, how are you doing, what's going on, like how, like, and we were able to really like build off of one another. So it's really cool to be in this space of having assistant coaches that are, you know, supportive, and kind of like Keilee and Morgan, you alluded to earlier, that we're all going through a lot of the same problems. And so like asking like, hey, what would you do in this situation? And hey, how would you handle this? It's been really, really helpful to just have this little community. And also Morgan shares the most amazing photos of the awesome barn life that is going on in her, and it's just so awesome to be in this small community. So
Awesome. Oh, you guys get the farm photos. Erin, Keilee, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, I think you hit a lot of it. I think as coaches, right, we want to be like the best we can possibly be within our teams. And so you can get kind of tunnel vision of like, oh, this one thing isn't working, or like, oh, this thing is great, or what. Like, it can just be very easy to get very like hyper fixated on things that are going on specifically on your team. And that can sometimes, if it's like not going the best, that can be kind of isolating. And if it's great, like sometimes you got to be humbled a little bit. So like, I think just like being able to be in this community where you can feel like you're not alone, like you have people, like Keilee said, like when you're at the national championship, there are people hyping you up and like, yeah, you got this, like this is awesome, right? And then when you're at those lower points, they can be like, yeah, we've been here, and like I like Keilee said, I see you, right? Like I see you, and I want to help, and like here maybe some things that like I've tried in volleyball, right? And maybe that could be helpful for you. So I just think it's a sounding board, it's a community, it's a network, a support system that I think, you know, is always there for you, and truly wants your best interest. I think that's another cool part of it, being all different sports, all different divisions, but we're all women. Like we just want to support each other and help each other be the best we can be. So I'm just very grateful for their perspective and their honesty and support throughout the year. And I know these are relationships that if I'm in Fordham in 3 years and Keilee is still there, I'm calling her up, and I know she'll go grab lunch with me or something, right? Like I know these are people that are going to be in my corner for a long time, which is awesome.
All right,
Yeah,
Keilee,
for
you have
sure.
a
Like you
beautiful
mentioned,
lunch.
Erin. I know, I can't wait.
3
Like
years
Erin
worth.
mentioned, I think it's so good to be a part of this fellowship because, like you mentioned, like lunch, like we have, like now I have, there's 10 other individuals that I can reach out to with questions and concerns, or like I'm getting ready to go to the women in coaching event, and it's great because I spoke to Denise and she's like, yeah, I had a great time, and just like make sure you're prepared for this. And it's just amazing because now I'm not going into the event not knowing what to expect. So that's another amazing thing. And definitely on Morgan's part, you've definitely put together an amazing group of women, and it's great that everyone come in very open-minded and, like Erin said, like willing to know that we don't all have the answers, but as a group we can figure out how to solve whatever challenges is that we're all dealing with. And it's just great because we get to just kind of hop in the group chat and like, hey, so, or getting an email, and that email gets sent out to the entire cohort, and best and believe you're going to get some form of advice coming back. So that's always really cool.
And
Yeah,
it's such a incredible group. Like the intros, like I listened to the intros for the other two, and I'm like, oh my God, like they're such inspiring people that are just like accomplishing so many incredible things within their own industry, that it's just an awesome opportunity to be able to be around such a strong group of women. So yeah, Morgan, you definitely crushed it, like Keilee said.
Listen, this is all
Yeah.
you. This is you. You all are bringing everything to the table. So one thing, you know, when we talked about, and Danette, you know, said in the beginning, is we've seen an unfortunate, you know, backslide in terms of the women, in the number of women who are coaching after Title IX was passed. So we've dropped down from 90% in collegiate coaching to 41% of head coaches of women's teams in the NCAA are women. But you all are a new generation. You all are the younger generation. You're going to lead us into the future. I would love to hear from you all in terms of what you're seeing, or what are barriers to coaching for your generation, or things that you've seen for women your age, whether it's, and I apologize, my cat is gonna make an appearance, but what are you seeing in terms of like the narrative and how it's shifted for women in coaching? Erin, why don't we jump back to you?
So for one, I think I know that there's been that dip since Title IX, but I'm very curious to see how these next like 15 to 20 years play out, because I do think there is a different energy around women's sports right now. I think I mentioned it in my first answer tonight, but I was very fortunate that a lot of the leaders in my life, in my athletic spaces, were women. And I think for better or for worse, like even when I was growing up, like I knew a lot of guys that their dream was to be a professional athlete. And I kind of like, my dream stopped at college, because I just, even the way like the WNBA was talked about, or like just professional female sports in general, like it never carried the same tune as male sports. And I think now we're finally in a space where it's getting the same recognition and attention, and there is that hype and that energy around it. So I just think, for one, right, like I just think female sports, women in sport, right, like it's just this space that is now given the respect it deserves and the attention and the resource. So I think that hopefully we'll see a huge spike. But then, yeah, I just think it's just making it a legitimate option, right? Like there are all sorts of different careers, but like, is a career in like sport, is that something that is going to be supported as you are a woman? And I think this cohort, and I think the mentors that has connected me with, in conjunction with all of the energy around women's sports right now, it's a very legitimate career, and it's something that is very celebrated and people are super excited to talk about. So I do think like I'm definitely feeling that younger generation kind of carrying us into this new wave. But I do know that like talking to a lot of my mentors, a lot of them were coached by men. And like even when the first female I ever had as a coach was in college. So like there's definitely still that is still existing, and there are male coaches who are phenomenal, right? But it's just that representation factor of like, if you see it, you can be it, right? And I think the more we can see women's sports getting recognition and respect and value, I think the more we'll see women carrying into those spaces. And that's something that tons of trailblazers have laid the way for. So very grateful for them, and excited for this generation that's all about sport and women in sport and ready to carry the charge on. So
awesome. Keilee, anything to add?
Yeah, Erin, definitely to piggyback off of Erin, I think I'm also super excited to see what the next few years look like. I know the saying is if you see it, you can be it, and that's something that coming into this program, especially as a woman of color, has been an amazing experience for myself and my athletes. And it's great to know that as women coaches, we're consistently creating environments for our athletes to feel more than athletes, but to see the entire person. And that's something that I think like all women coaches bring to the table. And we hear back from our athletes the way that it's impacted them and the effect that it's having on their lives as they go forward. And I know a few of our athletes that have graduated will reach out over the years, and they've gotten into coaches, and mainly women, some of the women on our team, which is really cool to know that the impact that, you know, us female coaches who they've had experience with have left a great impact on them. And it's something that they want to go out and impart on other athletes, both male and female. And I think, you know, this generation of women coaches and this generation of athletes as a whole are very outspoken. And I think that's amazing because it prevents dictatorship and creates room for conversations and partnership, which I think allows both coach and athlete to get a lot out of what it is that they're working towards. So I'm super excited for what the next few years look like.
Awesome.
And then I'll jump in here to close us out on this question. I would say there are two barriers that I see facing women in coaching, and they've been barriers since the beginning, and they will continue to always be barriers. The first is kind of how women have to balance between, you know, so many different hats. I mean, our women's basketball coach very recently just had a baby and had to navigate the kind of like figuring out what that balance looks like, and you know, connecting us. In our fellowship, we were able to connect with Muffet McGraw, who many of us talked to her about what work-life balance means for her, and she kind of gave an answer that was like, you know what, you just have to make it work, and you know, you have to, as a woman in these leadership positions, you have to make space for your assistants to be able to make it work, and you have to make it work. And so I've been fortunate to kind of also be working with an amazing woman, my boss, Jody Burton, who is the head women's golf coach at Claremont-Mudd-Scripps. She's been there for 45 years, and she raised 3 very strong, amazing men who are huge advocates for women's sports. And she did that all on her own. And I think she's all of these amazing women are just paving the way for young women like us to kind of see that it's possible to have this sort of work-life balance. And so I think it's so important for women who are graduating and deciding to enter into the coaching space to know that it's possible to both take on all of these different hats and do it in a way where you have meaningful connections across both with your players, and you're able to cultivate your family life. The second issue that has always been an issue for women in coaching is the elephant in the room. It's tough to, you know, make a living as an assistant coach. I mean, I started out on a very, very limited salary, and fortunately through this fund, I have been able to be full-time at my university, and that is not something that a lot of women coaches are able to do. And so through this fund and through all of these professionalization opportunities through this fellowship, I have been able to continue my path. I don't know if I would have stayed in coaching without it, because at the rate that I was going, it was a very part-time situation, and you know, I very easily could have just said, you know what, maybe coaching isn't for me, like this just isn't a path that I can pursue. Financially, it's irresponsible for me, given that I just can't find a full-time position. And then fortunately, I had amazing female administrators and my amazing 45-year veteran boss coach support me in applying for this fellowship. And here I am, and now I'm looking for further full-time positions in coaching. And I'm just so grateful that there are programs like this that are supporting women to be able to kind of continue down this path. Otherwise, you know, we're gonna lose amazing women leaders, and it's just so important that we continue to give resources to women in coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just described the exact reason why we have the fund, and the reason why we need to have opportunities like this. Also might be changing the name of our mentor coaches to boss coaches, because I love that. So we're gonna switch over to some audience questions. First one, not to toot your horns too much, what a fantastic group of rising stars. Can the fellows share how they will pay this forward to the next generation of women in coaching? So the women who are coming behind you, if you have any thoughts in terms of what you would want to see or what you would want to do for those women who are coming behind you. And anyone can just feel free to jump on in.
I will say so the ODAC, the conference that I'm in, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, hosted a professional development opportunity for assistants. And I went to that, and there was a young coach, she was a soccer coach, and I don't know, a lot of what she was saying, even in like the room discussion, like it reminded me a lot of myself. And I made sure that I like went over to her and I was like, here's myself, like I mean it, like let's connect, I'm gonna talk to you. And like I don't know her, right? Like it was the first time I met her, and we stayed on the phone for like an hour and a half. And I think like that was such an incredible experience. And by the time we hung up, like she's like, okay, yeah, like I can do that. Like I think a lot of times Keilee was kind of talking about it, but like that initial interest, like when you look at the salary and when you look at that, maybe you're not seeing as many people that look like you in the space, like it can be kind of daunting. And not everyone wants to go into coaching. Like you can have a lot of teammates, but not every teammate is supposed to be a coach. So like when you have those conversations, sometimes people are like, why would you want to do that? Like we just did that for 4 years. Aren't you ready to like graduate and like go do something else? But like for those of us who that's our passion point, like it's important to for that. And so I just like talking to her and like validating kind of what she was feeling and letting her know that like that isn't like I went through a lot of those same things, and there was a lot of like crossover in our story, even though it's a different sport, different school. And so I don't know, just conversations like just creating space to have those conversations. And I mean, what we're doing with each other as fellows, and like there's definitely younger women that are coming behind us that we can give those opportunities to, even though they aren't necessarily a part of the WSF. These are things that we've learned and can take with us other places. And then yeah, just like connecting with other female assistants within our department. I try to mentor. I mean, there's few right now that are that much younger than me, but the few that are, I really try to mentor and help. And I think those are things that help me continue to be passionate about what I'm doing. So I'm a connector, I'm a relationship person. I love to help. And I think the more times you can talk to young women who are passionate about coaching and help convince them, that means there's just one more of us, and there's strength in numbers. So I'm all for just having conversations, listening, supporting, guiding. So that's my short-term plan. I'm sure I'll do other things, continue to be, connected to WSF, go to We Coach, like all of these great organizations that are already doing a lot of the great groundwork. Not necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, but definitely want to emphasize and highlight those conversations in the grassroots effort.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, for me, it's just similar to what Erin said, just creating space where we can share our experiences and having conversations about what coaching has meant to me and the impact that it's had on my life, and sharing that with my athletes, and creating different opportunities for us to go out and speak to younger athletes that are coming up, right? Showing them that this is a possibility for you as well. Being able to share these different events that we've been to. Like, Erin said, like if one day she shows up at Fordham, to know that, hey, there's someone there that I can connect you with, or, just knowing that the different opportunities that this has prevented through networking, and being able to say like, hey, like I've heard someone that had a similar experience to you, maybe I can reach out and try to see how they handle this situation, right? Really utilizing what it is that we've gained and that I've gained from this experience. And as Morgan knows, I'm always ready to do whatever it is as it relates to WSF. If there's opportunity for me to come and pay back just a small portion of what it is that I've gained from this organization, I'm ready to do that, because it's just been amazing.
Oh yeah, you all are just part of the WSF family and just going forward. I hope that goes without saying. Keilee, anything that you would want to add just in terms of next generation paying it forward?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that I'm fortunate to be in a department that takes very seriously is connecting with our communities. So our team often goes to events in the golf space specifically. So we very recently went to the girls golf party, partnering with the Southern California Golf Association, and we were able to interact with a lot of these younger girls, and kind of our team was able to give lessons about swinging and like talk about leadership and patience and all these different qualities in golf. And I think showing these young girls that women can be in leadership positions is so important. And then also piggybacking off of what Erin said, I think having those conversations with anyone who might be interested in coaching, especially around our department. I think we can look in our own backyard and find maybe 5 or 6 girls who might even have a small itch to go into coaching, and then just making sure that they know that you're a resource to talk about any fears or feelings that they're having. One of my former players at the University of Redlands, she recently graduated and went into an assistant coaching position, and I was like we were texting constantly about like, hey, what would you do with this situation, and what were you doing about that, and like, how do I ask my boss for a raise, and how do I do all of these things? And I think anything that we can do as women to support women and help like lessen the knowledge gap between those who are in these positions and those who are trying to break in is going to be so important for the next generation. And so anything that we can do to connect people, build relationships, or even just blaze the path forward is crucially important.
I will say that I had my first player tell me that they were thinking they're doing like a 5th year and it's a 2-year master's, and they're like, I now feel like I can be a coach because I like saw you go through that transition. Like this is someone I played with, or that senior year, like the whole transition thing. But that's a really cool moment for someone to say, like, I never really thought about coaching, but now just talking to you and like seeing the impact that coaching can have on lives, like I want to do that. I was like, oh my gosh, like now I want to like start my coaching tree and like everyone like become coaches. But no, but in all seriousness, like that's really cool to see that reach is happening, because obviously like more people that you can get into this field, the more lives that are being touched. And at the end of the day, that's the goal.
I agree. And I think we definitely don't realize sometimes like the impact that we have. Like, yes, we know like we're helping them to become better athletes and better individuals, but when those conversation comes up, like, hey, so what do you think about coaching? Oh, okay. So you're definitely getting that like sense of like, okay, they're seeing it and it's something that they now feel like they can do as well. So it's great to be able to say like, yeah, I definitely think this is something you should get into. So
yeah, you all are you're living the if we can see it, you can be it. These athletes are seeing you and they can see themselves in you. So I hope, you know, like you're saying, like take those moments and run with them. So we only have a couple minutes left. I do want to just, you know, if folks who are on the call are looking to check in, see where you all are at, anything that you all would want to share just in terms of long-term career goals or career goals kind of just moving forward. I know some are in transition. Keilee, you said you were looking for some positions. Anything that you would want to share? Keilah, why don't we start with you and we'll go down Keilee and Erin, and then we'll pass back to Danette. Keilee, can you hear us? Or Keilah. All right, Keilee, why don't you start?
Yeah, so just looking for some head coaching opportunities.
Went out for a second. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna be.
You're good. Keilee, why don't you finish and then we'll go back to Keilah.
Yeah, just kind of looking for head coaching positions.
I'm lagging. Yeah, I'm lagging a little bit. Sorry.
Looking for head coaching positions, Keilee?
Oh, yeah, and then just also just continuing to stay involved in the WSF. I think this is just such an incredible organization, and the amazing things that they provide for women athletes, women leaders, women coaches, and all the connections that are being made here. I just am so grateful to have been welcomed into this family, and I hope to continue to grow and learn and just see this amazing organization flourish in the coming years.
So now we got lifers over here. I hope you're ready for this. Erin, why don't you jump? I just want to make sure Keilah's got the lag going.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, for me, I think I know now like my goal is to be a Division III head coach. Like I know that's something that I'm hungry to do. And so right now I'm the assistant at Washington and Lee, and I'm loving that opportunity and continuing to, you know, attack my career with how can I position myself to be ready to take that step when it presents itself. So like Keilee said, like that's being involved with WSF, that's being involved in organizations like We Coach, that's continuing to do things. Like I just use a lot of my professional development money to buy a bunch of books. So we're going to be reading a lot here in the next coming weeks, but continuing to do those things to continue to build my toolkit, my toolbox. So that way I can continue down that path to eventually get to that goal of being a head coach. And I think there have been incredible women along this path that have helped pour in to who I am. And I'm so, so grateful for that, because now I feel even more confident to take that step when it presents itself. So yeah, no, it's just been an incredible opportunity, and cannot express how grateful and thankful I am for this year. And like you said, for a lifetime. So it's been awesome.
All right, Keilee, can you hear us? All right, well, let's pass back to Danette, because I know we're at time. Keilee, I know, is at Fordham, and I believe she's staying at Fordham, so we'll make sure she's available. And Danette, we'll pass it back to you.
Well, thank you, Morgan. I can't say, like, the future is bright. I see all of you, and I am thrilled to know where we are going in women's sports and women coaching women. So thank you for your time. And yes, you are, as Morgan said, you are officially forever a part of the Women's Sports Foundation family. So don't ever forget that, because you are going to carry the torch next, as Morgan and I know. It's going to be your generation to carry the torch. But I want to thank Morgan. I want to thank you. I want to thank the amazing donors and supporters and trustees in Emeriti that have really built this program for us. I hope you enjoyed tonight and got a sense of the amazing women that are part of this program. But just, you are going to be the future, and it feels so good to see the work that you are all doing, but to see the passion that you all have for coaching. And you make me emotional when I watch all of you. You make me realize I do what I do because of what you bring to the table. I'm so excited to see where you all go, and to follow you, watching you win your national championships, and to see you in the professional ranks. I have no doubt you guys are all going to make it there. So thank you. Thank you for all that you do. I hope that all of you on the call have enjoyed getting to know our fellows, have enjoyed learning more about Women's Sports Foundation, the Tara VanDerveer Fellowship. Obviously, if you'd like to learn more, I know Lisa, our Director of Development, is going to put her email in the chat. You can email her directly to learn more about the fund. And you can obviously also go to womensportsfoundation.org to learn more about the organization. But I hope you guys have a great night, and I'm cheering you on, each one of you. So thanks for the evening, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your night.